The New York Knicks were supposed to be one of the elite teams in the NBA this season. Every analyst had them pegged as a top 2 team in the Eastern Conference, a squad ready to challenge the title with an upgraded roster and renewed energy. Yet the opening weeks couldn't have gone worse. The Knicks dropped 3 straight games in Miami, Milwaukee, and Chicago, each one winnable, each one frustrating. Their offense looked disjointed, their defense lifeless, and the chemistry that was supposed to set them apart seemed to vanish before the season even truly began. Fans who had high hopes were left wondering if this team was already falling apart before it even got started. For a while, it was hard to watch. The Knicks' rotations on defense looked confused. The help defense arrived late, and offensive possessions dissolved into isolation plays that went nowhere. Mike Brown, brought in to modernize the system and bring cohesion, looked like a man with too many moving pieces and not enough answers. Karl-Anthony Towns, the new face meant to push this team over the top, looked lost and hesitant. His shot selection was shaky, his defensive positioning worse, and silly fouls piled up like a bad habit. Josh Hart, the engine of the team's energy, was nursing a finger injury that clearly held him back. The Knicks didn't just look bad, they looked uninspired, like a team that knew it was supposed to be great, but couldn't figure out how to get there. Rock bottom came in that embarrassing loss to the Chicago Bulls during the NBA Cup, where New York gave up a shocking 72 points in one half. Towns' defensive lapses were glaring. And by the end of that night, frustration hung over the locker room like a storm cloud. But that same loss turned out to be the turning point. Something changed. The Knicks began to find their rhythm again, rediscovering who they were supposed to be. The energy shifted. The body language improved. The trust between players started to return, and Mike Brown's message finally began to sink in. The team that had looked broken suddenly started to look dangerous again. The biggest reason behind the turnaround was simplicity. Mike Brown stripped the playbook down, running more 5-out sets, adding motion to the offense, and letting the game flow through the 2-man action of Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. It was a subtle change that completely transformed the team's dynamic. Towns began to play with conviction again, attacking mismatches and shooting without hesitation. He rediscovered his rhythm, putting up all-star level numbers, over 22 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists per game on elite efficiency. Brunson, on the other hand, started to evolve his role, moving away from the ball-dominant style that had defined the Knicks' offense for the past few seasons. Instead of forcing tough shots late in the clock, he began trusting his teammates more, distributing the ball to Towns, OG Anunoby, and Mikal Bridges at just the right moments. That trust changed everything. The floor spacing improved, movement increased, and the offense suddenly looked fluid instead of stagnant. It wasn't just Towns or Brunson, it was a collective rhythm of 5 players understanding each other's timing. Even when the offense wasn't perfect, the underlying numbers were elite. The new starting lineup of Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, and Mitchell Robinson boasted a net rating of plus 25, an offensive rating of 125, and defensive rating of 100, dominant metrics for a unit still learning how to play together. Still, the fit wasn't flawless. Robinson, while an elite rebounder and rim protector, didn't bring much offensively, often clogging the lane for Towns. That's why Brown began experimenting with smaller lineups, adding more shooting and spacing. And it worked. When Miles Deuce McBride joined the lineup instead of Robinson, the offense flowed even smoother. His perimeter defense and outside shooting made him an ideal complement next to Brunson, giving the Knicks a two-way balance that could define their identity going forward. This change didn't just help the stars. It gave life to the role players too. Josh Hart, finally recovering from his injury, began to look like himself again. His hustle plays, rebounding, and tempo lifted the second unit every time he checked in. And interestingly, Hart himself admitted he liked coming off the bench. It allowed him to handle the ball more, play free, and act as a secondary playmaker rather than being relegated to a corner spot-up role. His energy has been the spark the Knicks bench desperately needed, keeping them competitive when the starters sit. Then there's OG Anunoby, who's quietly been one of the Knicks' most valuable players, averaging over 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals per game while hitting 41% of his threes. Anunoby has been the glue that holds everything together. When he's on the court, the Knicks outscore opponents by 21 points per 100 possessions, a massive swing that shows his impact on both ends. Defensively, he sets the tone, shutting down opposing wings and switching across multiple positions with ease. Paired with Mikal Bridges, the Knicks finally have a two-way wing duo that can score efficiently and defend anyone in the league. Bridges, meanwhile, has quietly emerged as the system's biggest winner. Freed from isolation-heavy basketball, he's become a deadly catch-and-shoot threat and a capable playmaker, averaging 16 points on incredible efficiency. The Knicks' turnaround became evident over the last few games. After that dismal start, they've now rattled off 3 straight wins, looking every bit like the powerhouse they were supposed to be. They crushed Washington, dominated Minnesota, and took revenge on Chicago. The offense, once sluggish and predictable, has come alive, averaging over 119 points per 100 possessions. Their performance against Minnesota was their best yet, posting a ridiculous offensive rating of 143.2, one of the highest in the entire league. Everything is clicking. Towns is dominating again, Brunson is steady and efficient, OG and Bridges are terrorizing defenses, and the bench is producing real value. Even McBride and Hart are making their minutes count. The Knicks suddenly look like a team with chemistry, confidence, and control. But for all the progress, there's still work to do. Towns, as brilliant as he's been offensively, still has a lock in defensively. Too often he drifts, commits unnecessary fouls, or gets caught watching the ball instead of moving his feet. For this team to truly compete deep into the postseason, he'll need to bring consistent defensive focus every single night. The Knicks also need to clean up their turnovers. While they currently rank among the best in the league at protecting the ball, there's still moments of carelessness that could cost them against elite opponents. And while Robinson remains a defensive anchor, the long-term solution might involve staggering his minutes with Towns, or even promoting McBride to the starting lineup full-time to maximize spacing. Still, the big picture is undeniable. The Knicks look like a different team now. They've rediscovered their identity, adjusted their offensive philosophy, and begun to play the kind of basketball that wins in today's league. Fast-paced, spaced out, and balanced. Mike Brown's vision of a modern, dynamic offense is finally taking shape, and it's paying off. The Knicks are no longer just a talented collection of names. They're becoming a team. The early struggles forced them to look inward, to fix what wasn't working and to evolve. Now, the rest of the NBA is on notice. The sleeping giant in New York is waking up. And if this version of the Knicks continues to grow, they might not just meet expectations. They could surpass them. But even as they surge back into form, one thing still looms. Josh Giddey and the Chicago Bulls, the same team that humiliated them earlier, have become one of the league's hottest stories. Giddey's near 30-point triple-double average over the last week has turned him into a near lock for the All-Star game, and his recent domination of New York still lingers as a reminder that the Knicks' journey isn't complete yet. So what do you think? Have the Knicks finally found their formula for success, or are these wins just a temporary spark before reality sets back in? Can Karl-Anthony Towns sustain this dominance, or will the defensive lapses haunt them later in the season? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive basketball stories, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next major turning point in the NBA season.